this lesson, we'll be using the quadratic formula. Students will be able to identify the a, b, and c values in the equation and solve by using the quadratic formula. So, the steps for solving use of quadratic: make sure your equation's in standard form, and then find your values for a, b, and c. Substitute them into the equation. Simplify what's under the radical first. That way, just in case there's no solution, you won't have to do anything else. Separate it into your two equations, simplify the numerator, and then divide, and your solution set is in braces. If a, b, and c are fractions, make sure you multiply everything by the least common multiple. All right, so our first one, we're going to start by identifying the a, b, and c. So a equals 1, b equals 7, and c equals 6. So we'll substitute those into our quadratic formula. So we have negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 7 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 6 all over 2 times 1. So that gets us negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 49 minus 24 all over 2. We'll go ahead and subtract those. So negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 25 over 2. Bring it into two equations. So negative 7 plus 5 over 2. That gets us negative 2 over 2, which equals negative 1. And our second equation is negative 7 minus 5 over 2. So that's negative 12 over 2, which is negative 6. So my solutions are negative 6, negative 1. All right, let's try another one. Our a is equal to 3. B is equal to 5, and C is equal to 11. So we have negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 3 times 11, all over 2 times 3. So we get negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 77 over 6. So that's negative 5 plus or minus the square root of negative 52 over 6, which means we have no solution because we cannot take the square root of a negative number. All right, here we have it with fractions. So the first thing I want to do is change this to standard form. So it would be w squared, so I'm going to subtract 3/5 w from both sides. So minus 3/5 w plus 2 over 25. Multiply everything by 25, which is our least common multiple. So I get 25 w squared minus 15w plus 2 equals 0. Now my a is 25, b is negative 15, and c is 2. So 15, it's negative 15, sorry. Negative b plus or minus square root negative 15 squared minus 4 times 25 times 2 all over 2 times 25. So let's simplify this. We get 15 plus or minus the square root of 225 minus 200 over 50. Gets us 15 plus or minus the square root of 25 over 50. So if we break that into two equations, we get 15 plus 5 over 50, which is 20 over 50, which simplifies to 2/5. And then we get 15 minus 5 over 50, which is 10 over 50, which simplifies to 1/5. So my solutions are 1/5 and 2/5. All right, let's choose this one. It says write your answer as a simplified radical and round to the nearest hundredth. So the first thing I want to do is change this to standard form by subtracting 4 from both sides. So I get y squared minus 4y minus 4 equals 0. Identify my a, b, and c. So a is 1, b is -4, and c is -4. So -4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared, -4 squared, minus 4 times 1 times -4, all over 2 times 1. So that's 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 16 over 2. So 4 plus or minus the square root of 32 over 2. The 32 simplifies to, this is 2 times 16. So 4 plus or minus 4 square root 2 over 2. Now I can simplify dividing both of these by 2 and get 2 plus or minus the square root of 2. Then I change this to a hundredths, to the hundredths, sorry. 2 plus or minus the square root of 2, which is 2.83. Sorry, I lost the 2 here. So the square root of 2 is 1.41 something. So we multiply that by 2. So then we take 2 plus 2.83 and 2 minus 2.83. And I get 4.83 for this one and -0.83 for this one. So my solution is -0.83 and 2.83. No, 4.83. So what is the quadratic equation? (b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c.